Yesterday, some supporters of the main opposition, All People's Congress Party, APC, clashed with the asylum police near the office, the party's headquarters in Freetown, while the party executive were holding a meeting with the international moral guarantors on the implementation of the national unity resolutions. The incident reportedly involved some supporters chanting slogans calling for electoral justice in response to the growing tension following the APC's loss to the Asylum People's Party in the June 2023 elections. So this morning, we'll be discussing of course, the incident that transpired yesterday. And we're expected to be joined by Sidia Tunis, who is the National Publicity Secretary of the main opposition APC party, Lawrence Williams, who is a media and political analyst, a colleague journalist, by the way, and also in our studio too, we'll be having Thomas Pa Ali Babadi, who is the executive director for the Forum of Sahel Union Youth Network. But before we delve deep into this conversation, it's time we take an highlight of the incident that occurred yesterday at the APC headquarters in Freetown. From yesterday's protest at the APC party office, and now to of course further delve deep into this conversation, we have in the studios William, who is a colleague journalist. Good morning. It's a pleasure having you, brother.
Yeah, good morning.
And also in our studio too, we do have Thomas Pa Ali Babadi. Babadi, good morning. It's a pleasure having you.
Good morning.
First off, William, did you witness these incidents yesterday?
I actually followed what happened mainstream and of course on social media as well. And I listened to interviews conducted with the National Publicity Secretary of the All People's Congress Party, and I also read a fact check done by a colleague journalist Chris Wizo on the incident that happened yesterday at the APC party office and its environs.
What sort of a signal, what sort of a picture does this incident paint, say particularly so the main opposition APC? Same is coming up at a time when international moral guarantors were in a meeting with the party's executive. What sort of a picture does it paint?
Well, I think first off we have to understand the underlying causes of what happened yesterday and what has been happening in general. First off, the ECOWAS delegation led by former Gambian VP or so are in the country to engage political actors, both the APC, the SLPP, the EMBs, that is ECSL and so on the implementation of the tripartite recommendations, or holistically the agreement for national unity. And of course they had this engagement yesterday with the APC. It was not surprising to me for me to see supporters or members or sympathizers of the APC coming out in numbers, as they put it, to express their frustration with the conduct of the 2023 elections, so that the visitors will know that they are not pleased with the outcome. And however, political parties have leadership, and the leadership of these political parties have agreed on the way forward. Concerns emanating from the lack of commitment to those agreements could be channeled through the leadership of the party, so that the party will now have strategic engagement with the moral guarantors or the government, as the case may be, on how to address those concerns. And one of the principal factors, in my view, that have been fueling some of these skirmishes is the spread of disinformation about, specifically about the conduct or rerun of the presidential elections, if you like, because that is what has many people, many APC loyalists, well, some people call them Samura loyalists, tend to believe. I listened to lawyer AKK this morning on 98 before coming. He was representing the All People's Congress, and he laid the blame squarely on the shoulders of Samura Kamara as the leader of the party. That he has not been, his comments suggest that Samura Kamara has not been holistically truthful with his supporters as to the outcome or the conduct of the elections, in the sense that the elections have been conducted, they are done and dusted. If there were any reasons to challenge the elections, it could have been through the Supreme Court. Okay. Failure to do so means that there is no legal contestation as to whether President Bio is president or not. President Bio is president. The point of concern here is there is an agreement of national unity which the APC party and the government have agreed on as the way forward. The concerns here are that the manner in which the government is sort of setting up the different committees to implement the agreement. Those are the major concerns for them as a party. But those supporters who have been coming out and blah, 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 these ones have been coming out as a result of the disinformation that they are receiving, in his words, from Samura Kamara, or from those who are within the Samura Kamara cycle.
So then, William, what's then the roles and responsibilities of our political leaders of these parties? At some point in time, you said you were not surprised to see, the barrage of supporters who came out yesterday in protest of, still protesting around results that are far-fetched.
Yeah, the reason I'm not surprised is because If you talk to one out of 10 APC supporter will tell you that the elections, the ECOWAS will conduct elections, or ECOMOC is coming to remove the president, and sort of, a lot of disinformation spread in there and there, and they believe in those information that are being given to them. But it takes leadership to address all of those disinformation being spread on social media to their supporters. It takes the leadership of the party to come out boldly to say, look, elections have been done and dusted. Yes, we know that something went wrong. Of course, we cannot shy away from the fact that things went wrong.
On several occasions,
but we've had an agreement for which we as a party are committed to, and that we want you, the followers, to entrust, to continue to believe in us, that we are committed to ensuring that this agreement is implemented to the letter.
On several occasions, we've had CDI Tunis on set here, on our television, wherein he has informed his party supporters that on no account will there be a rerun of the elections. But this information keeps spreading like wildfire in Hamilton within supporters of the APC.
CDI Tunis has not been the only one telling their supporters that there is not going to be any rerun of the presidential elections. A number of decent APC politicians have been magnanimous to come out and boldly state that elections have been done and dusted, even though there are issues we are following up through the Agreement for National Unity, particularly its tripartite. But there are also elements within, my observation, there are also elements within that are spreading disinformation to supporters, members, or sympathizers of the APC. And it is that disinformation that is fueling or driving this perception that there is going to be a rerun.
Lawrence, please continue to stay with us. In the studio now, we've been joined by CDI Tunis, Publicity Secretary of the main opposition All People's Congress. Sidi, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
From your party's perspective, what happened yesterday?
Thank you very much, Phoebian. Let me first of all say what happened yesterday as far as the number of people that we noticed were on the streets, confronting the police. It's unfortunate, and we wholeheartedly, as a political party, condemn it. We know people have the right to protest, but we are also aware that there are laws and there are ways you go about it. We, contacted the police, by the way, because prior to the meeting we had intelligence, and we saw several, social media posts asking for people to storm the party office with the intention to disrupt the meeting. And we, as an executive, felt very much obliged to contact the police because, one, we did not want disruptions of the meeting because we feel the meeting was very important. We had to engage the international moral guarantors to abreast them with how far we have gone with the implementation of the Agreement for National Unity, and then also which structures we have put in place for the implementation of the tripartite recommendation. So we did not want interruptions. And prior to even the meeting starting, we heard that people had gathered at the party office or surroundings around the party office, and they were confronting the police. So by the time some of us got to the party office, the police had already dispersed, and we heard that some were arrested. So we engaged the police. Those who were arrested, were later on released. But of course, the incident was not something we supported as a party. It is unfortunate, and we, just want to thank the Australian police for their timely intervention.
People don't just get up and show up to a protest. It must have been planned, communicated, incited or ordered by someone. Who put that protest together?
It is difficult to tell who exactly, but we know that people have been sending out posts, and on social media randomly. You know, a lot of them, in fact, some of them do not even live in this country; they live abroad. But of course, we also have video footages of, you know, people driving in to Freetown in a minibus, you know, calling themselves Defense for Samura Kamara. So it tells you that those people may not have been residents of Freetown. They may have come from outside of the city, because clearly, you know, when you see the video, you can tell that these people were coming from elsewhere and not necessarily from the city of Freetown. So you're right. People may have planned this, and because we knew the gravity at which they wanted to take this, which is why as a party we called on the law enforcement to maintain law and order around our party office, because we also needed the public to know that these may not necessarily be members of the APC. They may be people who have been hired, you know, for them to come into the city and cause mayhem and then present our party in a bad light, which is why we didn't want to handle it on our own. We wanted the law to take its course. We communicated what the meeting was about. We communicated to our membership and our supporters to stay calm, to stay home, and we will communicate the outcome of the meeting to them, which is what we are doing now as we promised.
Sidi, whether or not all those members or all those people who were there with the placards yesterday are members of the All People's Congress, it still leaves the fact that there are still some members of the APC who feel that there's electoral injustice. How much have you done as a political party to quench the fire?
Phoebe, no one is denying the fact that you know, what happened in 2023 as far as they relate to our elections, you know, is unacceptable by any standard. But of course, you know, the leader himself, by then, who was our presidential candidate, you know, was the one that decided to sit with President Bio and take a part of dialogue because, you know, according to him, this country needed peace and cohesion. And we gave him 100% support as a party. We all got involved with the peace process. We all got involved with the dialogue process. And agreements emanated from that dialogue process, which is now known as the Agreement for National Unity, which has 8 resolutions. And within those 8 resolutions also, we had a resolution that is looking at electoral reforms, which is Resolution 3, which is now known as the Tripartite Committee. So we've had all of these. Our responsibility as a party and as leaders of the APC is to ensure that we honestly and sincerely communicate the outcome of those agreements to our membership and to let them know exactly what entails in those agreements. And that is where some of us are lacking, including, I will not be hypocritical about it, including our presidential candidate. I think, you know, that is where the problem lies.
So has he been one of those communicating different message?
I think he has not communicated as succinctly, as simply and clearly like the rest of us in the party has.
Sidia Tunis, it is very clear that at some point in time, the leadership of the party, some members within the leadership of the party, have sent out mixed messages in terms of what's currently happening in the country. Are things falling apart within the APC?
Well, I wouldn't say things are falling apart. In any institution, you will never have 100% consensus, you know, on issues. You always have dissenting views. But in addressing the dissenting views, there should be sincerity, there should be honesty, and there should also be magnanimity in addressing those dissenting views. And I think that is where we come in as leaders of the political parties. We should not be afraid to confront our supporters and our membership with the truth. And I think that is what I see happening. We are leaders. We are expected to lead. We should not allow those who we are supposed to lead us. By, sitting and being afraid because a certain narrative is not what our membership or our supporters want to hear. Our job as leaders of political parties is to ensure that we always come to our membership with the facts on issues, first of all, and with solutions on those issues. If we fail to do those, others will take the leadership, others will take the narrative. And that is what, we see happening, and we do not want to go down that route. That is why it is important. It is important that we take up this leadership, put our supporters and our members on the track, and let them understand that, this is what needs to be done, and this is how we need to go as a political party if we ever have the intentions of coming back to governance in this country.
It seemed the APC had already preempted the outcome of yesterday's events. That's more the reason why they had to even invite the police before the commencement of that speech.
Of course, we saw the post on social media, and we saw the misinformation and disinformation. Somebody even wrote a piece that I read saying that this is a precursor to the coming of a council. These are judges that are coming to engage the Chief Justice as to how a council should come in later to remove President Bill. You and I know that that is not true. And so that is why we were quick to communicate. You heard my deputy was on social media with a voice note communicating to the membership that these people are coming to assess the implementations of the Agreement of National Unity and tripartite recommendations. But then you heard these people spreading these rumors. But I keep saying this to our members and membership and supporters. We've been on this for long. We started with the Bitumani agreement. Just after the agreement, I came out and said, this is it. We need to start preparing. Of course, you heard the insults, you heard the accusations, the allegations of me collecting money and all of these things. We shifted to tripartite, right? When the TOR of the tripartite committee came out, I was here again. And I warned our membership and supporters that no, the TOR does not speak to rerun. Read, and you will understand exactly what the tripartite committee is about. Again, the same set of people. So we have been on this. And then next we went to, a council is coming on September 15th. And they asked people again to mobilize. People were arrested on September 15th in Joy because this same set of people asked them to jump on the street and welcome a council. And that did not happen. Now, this visit again, the same misinformation. How much longer do you have to continue believing this misinformation? How can you even, in your own right sense, how can you even think that anyone outside of the structures of the APC will have more information, factual information, than the mouthpiece of the party? How is that even possible? These people don't attend these meetings. They are not privy to the discussions in these meetings. They are not privy to these agreements. Some of them do not even understand the contents of these agreements. And when the mouthpiece of the party speaks to you, somebody else speaks, you want to believe what that person is saying over what the mouthpiece of the party is saying?
Your Secretary General, your party's Secretary General, has contrary information as to the information you've been sharing on media on a daily basis. Are you frightened about it?
I don't understand what you mean by that.
Is constant post on, say, X and all the rest.
Like with regards to
elections results and so to speak. I suppose you've been following the same.
Okay, so let us distinguish this here. The Secretary's position as far as elections results are concerned and mine are no different. We share the same, that the results announced by the ECSL were not accurate. We all agree on that. Nobody is disputing that, except, of course, people in government. But you look at local observers, international, us, main opposition, we agree on that. But the fact of the matter is, that is what led us to Bintu Mani. That is what led us to Bintu Mani. And from the Bintu Mani dialogue, agreements were reached. And our leader then, who was our presidential candidate, is signatory to all of those agreements. He is signatory to the Agreement for National Unity. He is signatory to the tripartite report. And we all heard the joint statement him and Dr. David Senge made in front of President Bill. Who was the tripartite report handed to? To President Bill. So who is going to lead the implementation of the recommendations? President Bill. So do you think he's going to lead his own removal from office? Does that make sense to anyone? So why would people even see all of these things and still think that President Bill is going to be the architect of his own removal from office?
You keep saying, Sidi, our then leader. I couldn't help but notice that. Are you saying Samura Kamara is no longer leader and presidential candidate of the main opposition or People's Congress?
No, he's not. As per our constitution, he's not. Section 47 of the APC constitution is very clear that when you contest an election, okay, first it's the office, not the individual. The office of the leader and deputy leader only exists when you contest the election and you win as president or vice president and vice president respectively. But when you contest and then you lose, 6 months after the day the Chief Electoral Commissioner announces the results of the winner of the presidential election, those offices cease to exist. They become vacant until the next National Delegates Conference, when we shall elect the new leader. And that is, the Constitution further says, regardless of whether you challenge the result of that presidential election in the Supreme Court. So regardless of whether you challenge the result, 6 months after the day that announcement is made, that office becomes vacant. So it is way past December 2023, which was 6 months after the June election. So Dr. Samura Kamara is no longer the leader. That is why a few days ago you saw a photo of the deputy leader handing over the keys to his own office that was allocated to him as deputy leader of the party.
All right, let's head to Studio 2 and join Pali Babadi. You follow the conversation, you follow the happenings in country, the genesis of it to where we are currently. First off, do you think the All People's Congress is doing enough to communicate to its membership in entirety to understand the facts from the misinformation and disinformation?
Yeah, I think they are not magnanimous enough to handle this issue very well. Secondly, the question I think Serena should be asking, and we should be asking, even the media should be asking, is who is communicating this misinformation or disinformation? Is it the APC or is it the international community? Who? That's the question. Now, see, just hear the interview by the US ambassador quite recently. He said that capital recommendations are tied to the MCC, and so you should ensure everything is done. They asked him how many recommendations. He said 84. These 4 is where we have the divergent views. That there should be a Gigon, or Hikam, sorry, or a Gigon. They have divergent views. And the person in charge to move these recommendations is a person that was challenged in the election, who is now currently the president. And so, who is fooling who? Secondly, why are they coming out to ask these questions? We've put everything under the carpet, in terms of carpet or whatever. People are moving ahead with their businesses. Except yesterday I heard, and I saw on SAP, some skirmishes around the APC office. However, they were expressing, their right or whatever, in their own way. Police came in and also enforced the law, whatever. But I'm asking my question, who is fooling who? Is it the indigenous community or APC? Secondly, coming to APC within themselves, their views are not, they have challenges. People do not see Dr. Samura Kamara anymore as the leader or whatever. And so, the membership that owns the party is saying, no, Dr. Samura Kamara is our leader, and in fact, our president. That he won the election, but the election was stolen. Thirdly, look at what happened again yesterday. You see, I thought they've forgotten about Dr. Samura Kamara. People are holding placards. Now, the membership do not believe in the current executive that they elect in a convention, which I'm surprised. They don't believe in that executive, that the executive is playing dual role, working with the incumbent and then coming to say we are opposition. That's what they think. That's the perception. And I've spoken to most of them. I've scanned opinion, scanned their minds, and if you look at what is happening now, you see the real thing. Now, Dr. Samura Kamara is that sort of quiet person, I agree. But what is happening till date? These things continue. Why can't we nip them on the board? Finally, for me, I think there is some suspicion. How do we solve the problem? I'm not a journalist. I'm civil society. So civil society, your mandate is to identify problem, diagnose, decipher, and adduce interventions. That is civil society. Look at the problem, you should be able to find solutions.
And what recommendations would you put forward as perhaps a solution to what's ongoing?
The divergent views that, divergent recommendations, there are 4. How can we squarely look into them? Both the IC, the APC, and the SVP, let's sit down and discuss this issue. So it is nipped on the board. The APC, on the other hand, they are suspicious of the last election. This morning, 3 a.m. when I woke up, planning to come here, I was reading the EU report on the election. Page 35, if you have it, page 35, go there, you see that the EU came out with a very strong, the words were very strong. They said, and I quote, and that ECSL, included in their tweet page that what a civil society said before elections, the projection of that civil society. Look at it, they even presented the tweet report, in the EU report, that because this civil society said IGR, I think that's civil society, President you will win with 61% or so or above. So what they did was to include the tweet in their tweet report, in the report, in their tweets page. And so, it followed after. And they are saying, APC is still insistent, some of them who are in Samura Kamara camp, not the executive that was elected, the mouthpiece, who was supposed to be listening to. Who is supposed to listen to? Of course, it's correct. Section 19, 35 or 45 or whatever of the APC constitution, it tells you 6 months after the announcement of the results, you cease to be leader of that party. Now, if the chairman can now occupy that position, again, if the chairman wants to run for that office, should resign 6 months before election. I'm familiar with that constitution, both sides, APC and SVP. However, the problem is they are suspicious. How do we nip this on the board? And forget about it, we move now in building our economy, growing our economy, improving the roads, improving the light, look at hospitals, look at the nurses, medical doctors, and education. How we can empower this, equip the labs, the libraries. And that's what we want to see. You know, I mean, these are the same people anyway. They are similar people, same Sierra Leoneans. But you think they have their own opinion. No, we are this and we are that. But this is what we want to say as civil societies. Okay. Not the confusion, not the, and quote, SO2, ala ala. What we want to see is development, practical ones, and no excuse that the APC been there and the poor economy. No, that's not our business. Our business is you have an economy that you inherit, you have structures. Go ahead and build. But this, what is happening now, how do we nip it on the bud is a challenge for us. And so I think even within the executive of the APC, some of them are behind Dr. Samura Kamara. Some of them are not behind him at all. So it's all challenging for us as a country. Let me tell the APC now. Let me tell the APC, like we were telling the SVP, when they're in opposition, we are now telling them now that we also hope on them. And we're hopeful that they will come into governance one day and behave and conduct themselves. However, we will continue to poke our nose into the activities because they are integral part of public sector governance. And they are registered with the BPIC. So it's our business. When they come in, we shall be paying them, all of these guys. See, we shall be paying them again. Give them vehicles, give them drivers, give them security. It's our money. We are not paying President Bio. Did they not pay him? No. He's not using our money. So they should know that. So we are asking that they should bring this thing to an end, at least in the next 2 months. November, we should not be thinking about Trapa anymore. Neither we think about somebody going to APC office or SVP office to hold placard. So they should find a way. They have solutions. If they want, they can call some of us. In fact, let me tell you now, even these guys who are here, they are not allowing us to meet with some of them. And so we are now calling on them. Please, if you're viewing this channel, we are calling on you to invite some of us to come and speak the truth. Some of us don't know how to speak lies. I'm a Christian. I read the Bible and I teach the Bible. I cannot lie. So I'm advising you, please, UNDP, ensure you invite some of us to speak the truth. These guys are calling in the name of civil society. They are always there to, I mean, I reserve my opinion. Okay. But the APC, we are calling on you, please, tell your supporters, come together. Samura Kamara, Cheikoko, Minkailu Masare, Payansane, Sidia Tunis, especially Lansana. Okay. Sidia Tunis, I suppose you share a contrary opinion as to the opinions that have been highlighted by Babadi. I'll allow you to respond because I suppose you have something to say. In the first place, let me say nobody is fooling anybody. I think, you know, I always tell people that is why we are here. It is our responsibility to always speak for people to understand what the issues are. So let me first of all start with the statements of the American ambassador, now talking about 84 recommendations. If you read the tripartite committee report, they were categorical that there were 80 recommendations that they agreed on. In fact, the recommendations were presented in 3 categories. The 80 recommendations were the ones they had consensus. They agreed, no problems whatsoever, even with the wording. And then you had another category that, you know, that were divergent views, but not on the contents themselves, but on the wordings. There were about 7 or 8 of those. And then you had the third category where they did not agree at all, even on the content on whatsoever. So the APC presented its own report on those. Now, if you read, they've now developed what they call the framework, which is why you probably hear Ambassador talking about 84. If you read the report itself, they talk about recommendations outside of consensus proposals. And then they say, while the report contains 80 concrete joint recommendations,
deferring analysis of 2023 elections by the GOSL and the APC prevented the formation of joint analysis on results management. Despite this challenge, the two parties in their individual submission made substantively similar recommendations. So substantively similar recommendations, the wordings may have been different. So now don't waste time, let me just go to those, where those four came from. One, results management. Then the second one was handling of temper evident envelopes. So like they were, how to manage the result systems is one. They presented similar recommendations even though the wordings were not the same. When it comes to also dealing with tamper evidence envelope, that is where they put the results when transferring them from the polling stations to the collation center. So for example, if an envelope comes from a polling station and it reaches the collation center open, what do? So those are the recommendations. Also, Section 92(1) of the Public Elections Act, which is dealing with logistical issues. So if you go to a polling station to vote and then it happens that the polling staff, has not come with the logistics, what do? So those are the four, that were included. In fact, it's six of them. So it has really nothing to do with divergent as us outside, as our own position as the APC. So it is not so much, it is a matter of communication, which is why we deliberately come to communicate to our public. So we keep them abreast with happenings. We also continue to manage the expectations as we go forward. We are pushing for whatever it is that we are pushing for, but we also want to be able to communicate the facts. That is one. So I just wanted to clear that. And secondly, we are together as executive. We are not split. We are together. We are managing the party in a manner in which the constitution of our party, gives us the right. We are also managing the party, for the reasons we were elected. Our job is to ensure that we keep the party together, we keep the party focused, and we develop those strategies that would ensure we win elections going forward, which is why we do not want to delay as far as it comes to meaningful electoral review systems that will ensure we all have confidence in our electoral system going forward.
Yes, William.
Yes, certain things we must endeavor to make very clear and highlight certain inconsistencies or statements that tend to drive this disinformation or amplify disinformation that is already in the public domain. Babadi's opening comments suggest that there could be a rerun or recounting of ballots. And we all agree that there were significant issues, particularly lack of transparency at critical stages in the result tabulation collation process, as highlighted by the Election Observer Mission, the EU. And we all agree that there were technical or logistical constraints during the conduct of the elections which were not satisfactorily addressed. And but to suggest that a year or two after there could be a rerun or a count of ballots, that in itself is an amplification of the disinformation that is already in the public domain. So must be able to correct that statement or that perception that his comment would create in the minds of APC supporters out there. The Constitution is very, very clear when it comes to contesting the outcome of presidential elections. The Constitution prescribes specific time frame within which you should approach the Supreme Court to contest or challenge the outcome, the validity or otherwise of the elections. Failing to do so, I mean, there is no way that that election can be cancelled or rerun or will have a recount of ballots. One of the problems with us as a country is the fact that state institutions have not been fully insulated from the long arm of the executive. That is where, probably, in my view, Western countries got it right. I mean, when the APC was in power, the police were professional. The judiciary was independent. The Electoral Commission was credible, whilst the SLPP cried foul. Today, the APC is in opposition. They refuse to go to court because they don't believe in the independence of the judiciary. They now say the police is not professional, it's not impartial. And of course, the Electoral Commission is not credible. So the question whether Trapa tight or not, of course, there are recommendations within the 80 recommendations I've seen and read that could probably, if truly implemented in the spirit of sincerity, honesty, and a commitment to ensure a reforms that are intended take place, could actually address some of these issues. But unless we get it right with our state institutions, let state institutions function as state institutions, free from executive control or interference or influence. Even if APC comes back to power, SLPP will be crying foul in opposition. History reminds us of the checkered political past. I will give you cite an example. When Albert Magai rushed an absenteeism bill through parliament just because he wanted to get about 4 APC members out of the way and replace them with SLPP members, Shaka Stevens, just after the 67 elections, was to use the same law to get rid of 4 SLPP members of parliament. Once they lost their seat, he replaced them with his own choice. We saw in 2019 the court removal of 10 elected MPs, 9 of which were replaced by those who came second in the elections, SLPP. I fear same could repeat itself if we do not strengthen the independence of election management bodies. A lot of countries have been able to stabilize and move forward in terms of economic growth and development because they are not into this pettiness, this toxic politics. I tell you, all of us are, of course, following the American election. We see the toxicity in the election. If it were not for the fact that the American institutions are a bit strong enough to resist some of these things, that country would have been in flames today.
We've had a couple of messages on our Facebook page. We just want to be just to ensure we, of course, sound the opinions of our viewers who've been following us from across the globe. First from my end is from Patrick Musa Momodu, who says Dr. Samura Kamara and some elites in the APC have been misleading us that there is still hope for President Bill to be removed in the office by the international community, not knowing that it was totally misleading.
Osman Prince Sulaiman Kavonu says, I love the current speaker. The current speaker is an honest citizen.
Lamin Denke says, our nation is not yet serious to develop at all.
Abdul Rashid Dakona says, the APC party has unanimously agreed to the tripartite agreement, and they are still calling on the moral guarantors for electoral justice. That shows their misinformation, disinformation, and total dishonesty to the nation.
Patrick Musa also says, I asked one senior elite in the APC, how could it be possible for electoral justice without not going to court? He said it's possible, because the international community is more powerful than the courts. Now I know that most of these politicians are not honest to themselves and the people of this country.
Mohammed El Jallo says, good morning, AYV. We have made so many mistakes as a country for far too long, and we're still making the same mistakes by allowing these political parties the major implementers of this tripartite committee recommendations.
Abbas Habib Koka Bangali says a tripartite committee was set up to ratify the electoral results. If that was the case, Madabio should have been sitting in the committee meeting.
And that's a response he was making to Usman Train Sulaiman Kavoni's message, which says, if recommendations were made in the tripartite with all the parties involved, who made these recommendations? Why should the president be the person to implement them? For time, gentlemen, we'll just limit our messages to those. Your response, please.
For me, what we lack is confidence in elections and the acceptance of results. And this is not only a Sierra Leonean problem, it's common across African jurisdictions. And so we should be able to get it right now. Otherwise, 2028 is a transition election. It's going to be tougher than what we experienced in 2023. And if we do not build public confidence in state institutions, if these institutions are not responsive to the desires and aspirations of the people, if they lack predictability and consistency in their approach and in how they execute their mandates, then we are heading for a whole lot of chaos in 2028. So let us try to get it right. And for those who think or who have the view that they are going to conduct have a rerun of the presidential elections of 2023, that one day is not a happiness, sir. Let them get it at the back of their mind. So whosoever comes to you and tells you that, oh, get yourself together, go look for your voter ID. We are going to have an election in 6 months' time or 3 months' time, or ECOWAS is coming to remove President B or this or that. Now people lie. You know they happy. Let us just face the reality. Put your party together. Work towards reforming your party as well, so that you present yourself as a better alternative in the coming elections.
Quickly.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, we have a focus, and our focus is to ensure that we have an electoral systems review that will ensure credible, free, fair, and transparent election systems for future elections in this country. No matter what our differences and what our views may be at this time, the idea that, some way, somehow, some international power will just come and remove a government and replace it with another government is not something that, we've heard of, especially where, the legitimacy of that government was granted by the elections management body, and it was not challenged legally. So it is going to be very difficult. I don't know why people think CDI Tunis will want to be in opposition. That if I see that there is a possibility, there is every possibility that there will be a rerun, I will not be the one in front to push and dance for that rerun. But I know it is not feasible by any means in our current circumstance. That is why some of us are coming with the truth to our people, for us to focus on the electoral review systems, make sure we get it right, so that 2028 we shall have put ourselves together as a political party, we shall have had a good team, a good ticket, a sellable ticket, that the people of this country will become excited to support, you know, so that we can go into elections and win. This idea of us sitting and continuing to talk about 2023 electoral justice, I mean, we've spent over a year just talking about this. Do you want us to spend another year and two talking about this? And then when the time comes for election, we are not fully prepared as a political party? I don't think we want to go down that route.
Then quickly, Thomas Pali Babadi, just your response to the messages on our Facebook page.
The two texts you read, that we are not serious with development yet, that's very, very true. Second, you said, who is fooling who? I had the texters. We don't know. The problem, the challenge here is, for example, my brother was talking about me saying this. It's not me. It is what the document speaks to. I read documents. 1,000, 2,000 pages, I can read. Now, what is happening here is what they put in the document, have they been implemented? No. Secondly, I think our public institution, our public sector institutions, for example, NEC, I shall continue saying it. I have said so before election, and I'm going to say it. I observed elections way back in 2007 from funds from the Judicial Commission. Now, it is very, very clear that these elections were rigged to a point you will be afraid. People are counting a ballot. Our structures in the north, Tonkolili, Pudloko, and in Kono, they were counting the results, not collecting the results, counting the results. Announcement was made. The first election after 5 elections to be announced, just before a week. That's the first election. 96, 2002, 2007, 2012, 2018. 2023, we announced the election results a week. Quite interesting. So there is a problem. You know what people are saying? I mean, people don't sense on people's mind. Talk to medical doctors, talk to lawyers, economists, chartered accountants, and talk to those who are present. They will tell you. From their mouth, I'm quoting them verbatim. Next election, we are not going to register. Let the digital community don't spend money for registration. It's irrelevant because my vote will never be counted. So I advise that we look at it magnanimously. They will tell you, medical doctors, lawyers, economists, because if we register and go and vote, will they count our votes? We wake up 5 a.m. to go and vote. And at the end of the day, our votes are not counted. What do we do? So, you know what? We've organized 5 elections. 96, 2002, 2007, 2012, 2018. Now we have an election, 6th election. You know what Oshua is saying? Have you read Oshua's report? In the last 20 years, Oshua has been giving reports on democracy in West Africa. Sierra Leone ranked 2nd after Benin Republic. Ghana is coming 3rd. And Nigeria, Ghana is coming 3rd. But now Sierra Leone has gone down democratically. Those countries that are democracies, Senegal, Cape Verde, or whatever. Now, what am I saying? That there was no reason for us to have even tripartite. I think the reason why no tripartite, why do we, okay, next time, I think
we'll find ways to, of course, this conversation is one that will continue and find ways to design a program wherein, of course, most of the submissions will be had. But nonetheless, it's been a pleasure having you in the studios this morning. Thomas Pali Babadi, who is a civil rights activist, and we've also been speaking to CDI Tunis, who is coming from the main opposition, All People's Congress Party, and is leading, their PR. He's the National Publicity Secretary of the main opposition, APC. It's been a pleasure, as always, CDI Tunis. And also Lawrence William, who is a journalist. It's always a pleasure, brother, to have you in the studios.